Did you know that more than 60% of engine wear occurs in the first few seconds after starting it? That's right. Engines don't usually die on the road or from going too fast, but from the small mistakes most people make every morning when starting the car. And the incredible thing is that what you do in those first 30 seconds can determine whether your engine barely makes it to 100,000 kilometers or even surpasses 500,000. Most people mistreat their cars without realizing it and end up paying for repairs that hurt their wallets. But don't worry, because today I'm going to reveal the 23 most common mistakes when starting a car that are slowly destroying your engine. And be careful, because the last one on the list is the one that causes the most damage, but also the one that almost no one suspects. Error 23. Starting the car with the accessories on. This is a mistake many people make without realizing it. Starting the car with the radio, lights, or air conditioning already on is the worst mistake of all. It seems silly, but this forces the starter motor and battery to work twice as hard, pulling the engine while simultaneously keeping those electrical devices running. This causes the voltage to drop suddenly and can cause the starter to stuck, make a strange noise, or, worse, prevent the car from starting on the first try. It also wears out the alternator, which recharges the battery, and that means more money at the repair shop. So now you know, before you hit the key or the start button, turn off everything you can. Radio, lights, air conditioning. This helps your car start smoothly and takes better care of the engine and battery. And be careful, this is not the worst of it. Error 22. Ignoring warning lights during startup. When you start your car, you've probably noticed several lights on the dashboard come on, and that's completely normal because it's like a quick system check to make sure everything is okay. But be careful. What's not normal is for those lights to stay on after a few seconds or for some of them to start blinking. This is a clear warning that something isn't working properly. For example, if you see the red oil pressure light, it means the engine isn't getting the necessary lubrication, and continuing to run like this can be like cooking the engine over high heat without oil, a sure and expensive damage. Or if the check engine light is on, it could be a problem with the spark plugs, sensors, or even the catalytic converter. If not addressed in time, what is a minor fault today can turn into a headache with a costly repair or even the death of the engine. People often ignore them because the lights don't always signal an immediate emergency. But ignoring them in the long run means putting the lifespan of your engine and the entire car system at risk. And worse, they can leave you stranded at the worst possible time. So the best thing you can do is pay attention. And if any light doesn't go off after starting the car, stop the car or take it to a repair shop as soon as possible. Heeding these warning signs in time can save you thousands of dollars and, more importantly, prevent a bigger scare. Error 21. Holding the key in the initial position for too long. Leaving the key in the on position without starting the engine can be a fatality for your engine, so it's best not to do it anymore. When you turn the key to the position where the dashboard lights up and the car begins to check all its systems, but you don't get it to start the engine, you're leaving the starter motor and battery working for nothing. Why is it bad? Because the starter motor is designed to operate for a few seconds, the time it takes to start the engine. If you hold it in that position for too long, the starter motor can overheat and wear out, and the battery can quickly drain, leaving you with trouble starting the next time. Many drivers believe this step is just to prepare the car, but in reality it shouldn't take too long. As soon as you notice the engine starting to move, release the key so the starter motor stops working. If you keep turning the key longer than necessary, you're only causing premature wear and wasting battery power. So, the next time you start the car, do it quickly and release the key as soon as the engine starts to take better care of your car and avoid unnecessary expenses. Let's move on to the next one. This is one that can really destroy your engine if you don't pay attention to it. Mistake 20. Making frequent short trips with repeated starts. Are you one of those people who only uses the car for driving around the block, running quick errands, or just for short breaks? This may seem harmless, but taking short trips in a row, turning the engine on and off frequently, is a serious problem for your car. When you take very short trips, the engine rarely reaches its ideal operating temperature, which allows the oil to do its job properly, lubricating all the parts. If the engine doesn't warm up, the oil doesn't perform as well and the internal parts wear out faster. Furthermore, these repeated starts cause the starter motor and battery to work excessively, increasing the risk of premature wear or failure. To make matters worse, the moisture that accumulates inside the engine and exhaust system doesn't evaporate properly, which can cause rust and other damage. In short, using your car for short, frequent trips is like constantly choking the engine, and this ends up damaging it in the long run. If your routine requires several short trips, try combining tasks or taking a slightly longer drive to give the engine time to warm up and everything running smoothly. That will do your car a huge favor. Mistake 19. Pressing the accelerator pedal when starting. Many people think that to get a car to start faster, you have to press the accelerator right when you turn on the ignition. but that no longer applies to modern cars, which have electronic systems that automatically control the amount of gasoline needed to start the car. If you step on the accelerator at that moment, you only run the risk of sending more gasoline than the engine needs, which can end up damaging the engine and the catalytic converter, a key component for reducing pollutants and which is not cheap to repair. The smart move is to simply turn on the ignition, wait for the engine to start, and let it idle for a few seconds. This way, the engine gets the fuel it really needs, saving you fuel and avoiding premature wear. So forget about trying to hit the gas at startup. Let the electronics do their magic, and your engine will thank you with years of good performance. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. Error 18. Repeatedly cranking the engine when it won't start. Have you ever tried to start your car several times in a row because it wouldn't turn on the first try? It seems like it'll magically revive itself, but the truth is, doing this can often be a serious mistake. When you turn the key or press the start button, the starter motor goes to work, cranking the engine and getting it started. If you persist and repeat the cranking process without success, the starter motor can overheat and eventually fail. Besides, what do you think? You're also putting a strain on the battery, which can drain quickly and leave you stranded. On the other hand, these failed attempts often flood the spark plugs with fuel, making it even harder for the engine to start and potentially causing further misfires. If the engine doesn't start, it's best to wait a few seconds before trying again and check for any other problems preventing it from starting. In short, don't despair and avoid torturing the starter motor, because in the long run, that will only cause you more problems and expenses. So, give it time, check the battery, the spark plugs, and if it still won't start, it's best to take it to the shop, as it could be something more serious. Now, open your eyes wide, this here will surprise you. Error 17. Starting the engine with old or very thin oil. Using old or thin engine oil may seem like you're saving a few bucks, but you're actually giving your car a time bomb. Old oil loses its lubricating properties and becomes filled with dirt and harmful particles that clog oil lines and filters. This leaves the engine poorly protected, increasing friction between parts and causing premature wear. Additionally, burnt or overused oil doesn't dissipate heat well, so the engine runs hotter, which can cause serious damage, such as warping parts or even engine burnout. It can also cause a buildup of sticky oil residue that blocks flow and damages your pistons and crankshaft more quickly. The result is usually a loss of power, increased fuel consumption, and in the worst case, a very expensive repair for damage that could have been avoided with a proper oil change. The key is to change your oil on time and always use the oil recommended by the manufacturer so your engine stays like new and runs smoothly. Error 16. Starting the car with the steering wheel turned completely to one side. Starting your car with the steering wheel turned completely to one side seems like a simple matter, but it can actually put enormous stress on several parts. When the steering wheel is turned too far, the front wheels lock up and the engine has to work extra hard to move everything, which can wear out the power steering pump, rack, and other steering components more quickly. Furthermore, if the engine is cold and you add that extra effort, you may hear strange noises or vibrations and end up damaging parts that normally don't suffer as much wear. In extreme cases, starting with the flywheel turned and pushing too hard can even cause the engine mounts to deteriorate or the dual mass flywheel to fail. The recommendation is simple. Before starting off, make sure the steering wheel is as straight as possible to avoid extra stress and take good care of your engine and steering system. Error 15. Starting the car with a gear engaged. Kicking your car into gear seems silly, but the truth is, it can give your car a serious slap on the wrist. When you have the lever in gear and hit the starter, the engine has to work twice as hard, not only cranking the engine, but also moving the entire transmission and wheels. And that can burn out the starter motor or cause it to fail prematurely. Furthermore, if you don't release the handbrake and start off in gear, the car can jump or jerk, damaging the transmission, engine, and even the brakes. In short, starting off like this is like asking the car to work harder unnecessarily. In automatic cars, most have a safety lock to prevent starting in gears other than P or N, but it's always best to make sure you're in neutral or P before starting to avoid scarce and expensive damage. The recommendation is clear: always press the clutch and put the transmission in neutral before starting the engine. Your engine and transmission will thank you for it, and you'll avoid potentially costly repairs. Watch out, pay close attention. The next mistake is a real one. Error 14. Starting the car with a low battery. Did you know that trying to jumpstart your car with a dead battery is like trying to run a marathon without any power? When your battery is low, the starter motor struggles to turn the engine, which can cause a weird clicking noise or cause the car to not even start. If you keep trying without success, you're just killing your battery and starter motor, wearing them down, and risking stranding yourself. The battery has a hard job every time you start your car, and when it's weak, it becomes a chore. Therefore, if you notice that your car starts slowly or has difficulty, the best thing you can do is check the battery or ask for help with some clamps so as not to strain the entire system. Also, remember to check that the battery is in good condition and that the connections are clean to avoid problems. So if you don't want your battery to leave you stranded one day, give it the maintenance it deserves and avoid struggling with failed starts that only cause more damage. Well, let's move on to the next one. Mistake 13. Driving with the hood open. Here's the most fatal mistake. Driving with the hood open may seem like something that only happens in movies, but trust me, it's a mistake that can get you into serious trouble. First, if the hood is up, your vision while driving may be obscured or at least severely limited, which is a huge risk for both you and others on the road. Imagine not seeing a pedestrian or an oncoming car because the hood is blocking your view. That could end in a serious scare, or worse. Additionally, if for some reason you start driving with the hood open, the wind can bend this part or force it against the windshield, causing damage that no one wants. Also, leaving the hood open while the car is moving can damage the locking system and some internal parts that aren't prepared to withstand such strong impacts or vibrations. But it doesn't end there. It also increases the risk of dirt, dust, or even small objects entering the engine and causing unnecessary failures or damage. So, always listen for that little click of the hood lock before starting the engine, because it's the signal that everything is in place and ready for a smooth ride. Don't let your guard down, because what follows is another tip that can save you from a serious headache with your engine. Mistake 12. Starting on a steep slope without preparation. Starting your car on a steep incline without being prepared is a classic scenario that can end in disaster. Imagine you're on a very steep hill and you hit the starter without doing anything else. The car could start rolling backward or shut off just when you need it most. When starting off on a hill, whether uphill or downhill, you need to know how to use the clutch, handbrake, and accelerator to properly control the car and prevent it from rolling backward or from starting abruptly, damaging the transmission or engine. In cars with manual transmissions, a popular technique is to set the handbrake, press the clutch, and release it to the point of friction while gradually releasing the handbrake. This way, you prevent the car from sliding and climb uphill without any problems. If you have an automatic car and you have to face a steep hill, be sure to use the appropriate modes, such as low or hill start assist, if your vehicle has it, which hold the car stationary for a moment so you can control the accelerator without fear of the car rolling backward. Get your act together and practice these techniques before you face a tricky hill start. Because doing it wrong is not only risky for you and others, but it can also damage your car and cost you a lot in repairs. Tell me, have you ever made this mistake? Leave your answer in the comments. And before continuing, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, click that like button, and activate the bell so you don't miss any of these tips I'm giving you to take care of your car like a pro. Now you know what you're doing, so let's continue. Mistake 11. Not checking critical fluids before starting. Many people think that simply inserting the key and starting the car is enough, but failing to check basic fluids before starting can be the trigger for a serious problem. Engine oil, for example, lubricates all internal parts, and if it's low or too old, the parts can rub together and overheat, causing premature wear. Then there's coolant, which is like the engine's air conditioning. Without enough coolant or with an old one, the engine can overheat, and believe me, a burnt out engine isn't cheap to fix. Not to mention brake fluid, which, if low, can cause the car to brake poorly and make the adventure dangerous. You should also check the power steering fluid so the steering wheel turns smoothly without requiring much force. And of course, the windshield washer reservoir, which saves you on rainy days so you don't lose your vision. Not overlooking these fluids is an invitation to breakdowns. You should get into the habit of giving them a quick once-over before every trip, no matter how short, so you're always safe and your car runs as it should. And if you think that's all there is to it, wait until you hear what follows, because the next mistake is one that many overlook and can ruin your engine faster than you imagine. Mistake 10. Starting the car in extreme weather conditions without preparation. When it's freezing cold or the heat melts the asphalt, starting your car without proper preparation can be a ticking time bomb for the engine. In extreme cold, the oil thickens, almost like honey, and doesn't lubricate the internal parts properly, which makes the engine suffer more and may not start properly. In addition, the battery loses power in the cold, so the starter motor has to work twice as hard. In extreme heat, you also need to be careful, because the engine may be too hot, and starting it without giving it time to cool down can cause overheating, damage, or failures that are expensive to repair. It's best, when cold, to let the engine warm up a little before hitting the accelerator, and when hot, if the engine has been working hard or the car has been sitting in the sun for a long time, let the coolant and engine cool down before starting off hard. Be careful, starting quickly isn't the same as starting the engine off and zooming off without giving the engine a chance to get up to speed. With these precautions, your engine will last much longer on those extreme days without complications. Mistake 9. Ignoring unusual noises or warning lights. When your car starts making strange noises you've never heard before, such as squeaking, metallic knocking, or whirring, it's time to pay attention. These sounds are your car's secret language telling you something isn't right. And if you also notice a dashboard light that's on or blinking, don't ignore it for a second. These warning signs can include brake pad wear, battery problems, fluid shortages, or engine failures that, if not addressed in time, can result in a much more expensive breakdown. Ignoring these signs is like playing Russian roulette with your car. Everything may be fine, but the likelihood of a major problem increases by the minute. The good news is that with a little listening and attention, you can prevent a lot of headaches. If you hear something strange or see a light on, take your car to a shop or call a specialist to have it checked out before the damage gets worse. And now, hang in there. Here's something that could save you a lot of money if you do it right. Mistake 8. Not inspecting the drive belt. Your car's drive belt is much more than just a band you see under the hood. It's the lifeblood that synchronizes the movement of various engine parts, such as the crankshaft and camshaft. This part works tirelessly, ensuring the valves and pistons move in perfect rhythm so the engine runs smoothly. But if it wears out, or, worse, breaks, the consequences can be disastrous. When the belt shows cracks, signs of wear, or is loose, it begins to make strange noises, such as squealing or vibrations, which could alert you that something is wrong. If you ignore these warnings and continue driving, you run the risk of the belt breaking while the engine is running, which can cause piston valve collisions. Imagine the disaster: damaged internal engine parts, expensive repairs, and a car sitting idle in the middle of the road. That's why it's essential to check the condition of the drive belt periodically, always following the manufacturer's recommendations regarding mileage or usage time, and consult a specialized mechanic for a timely replacement. Furthermore, it's often advisable to replace the tensioners, pulleys, and other related components along with the belt to avoid future problems. Don't underestimate this belt and maintain it on time. It's an investment that protects your engine and saves you from potentially costly expenses. Mistake 7. Warming up old cars as if it were mandatory today. You've probably heard from your parents or grandparents that you should warm up your engine before you leave. And if you have an older car, you might think that theory is sacred. And in part, they're right. Older carburetor cars really do need that amount of time to warm up because the fuel and air had to be mixed manually for the engine to run properly. But beware. This has changed with modern cars, which now feature electronic fuel injection systems that regulate fuel and airflow so the engine starts and runs from the very first second without having to wait long. The reality is that idling for long periods before leaving the car is not only unnecessary today, but can waste gasoline and cause more pollution. If you have an older car, it's good to give it a few minutes to let the engine and oil warm up and circulate properly, but don't overdo it. 3 to 5 minutes is usually enough before you start driving smoothly. However, avoid accelerating hard until the engine reaches optimal temperature, as that's the step that truly protects the engine. So now you know, warming up is no excuse to be lazy or waste gas. Give it your time and then give it a go, but don't rev it too hard. Mistake 6. Not replacing worn spark plugs in time. Spark plugs are those tiny parts that generate the spark that ignites the air-fuel mixture inside the engine. And if they're not in good condition, the engine simply won't run as it should. When spark plugs are worn or dirty, the spark loses power, resulting in poor starting, rough idling, loss of power, and even increased fuel consumption as the engine tries to compensate. Another key detail is that bad spark plugs can cause the engine to jerk, make strange noises, and even turn on the check engine lights on the dashboard. If you don't change them in time, wear can affect other components of the ignition system, such as the catalytic converter, and cause polluting emissions. Replacing your spark plugs is a simple and inexpensive maintenance procedure that can save your engine from many problems and make your car run like new, with lower fuel consumption and more power. Don't wait for your car to give you clear signs of bad spark plugs. Check and replace them according to the manufacturer's instructions. Don't let it pass, because a pair of new spark plugs can make all the difference in your engine's performance. So stock up and keep that engine running like a real engine. Mistake 5. Not properly inspecting a car that has been sitting for months. Having a car sitting for months isn't just about leaving it sitting still and ready to go. It's like having a dormant limb that needs a stretch. After so much time without use, various parts of the car can suffer and become sluggish. And if you don't do a thorough check before starting it, you're inviting trouble. The first thing you should check is the tires. After being parked for a long time, the pressure drops and cracks or deformations can appear. Checking the pressure and condition is essential to avoid a surprise flat tire. The battery is also a different story, because if it's dead, it'll most likely leave you without a spark. So give it a good charge or replace it if it's old. Don't forget to check all your fluids: oil, brake fluid, coolant. Many of these may have become contaminated or lost properties over time. which can significantly affect the health of your engine and your driving safety. Your brakes may also be sticky from lack of use, so don't forget to do some light tests to make sure they're responding properly. And don't overlook the fuel system. Old gasoline degrades and can cause the engine to not start or perform poorly. In extreme cases, you'll need to drain the tank and refill it with fresh gasoline. Also, keep an eye on the exhaust system and belts, as inactivity can be bad for them. Checking a car that's been sitting for a long time is key to getting it started smoothly and avoiding stranding you halfway. So take the time to check it over thoroughly and give it the love it deserves. So now you know, don't let laziness get the better of you and take good care of that machine before starting it up. Stay tuned, because what follows is another tip your engine will really appreciate. Mistake 4. Not checking fluid levels. Not checking your car's fluid levels is like driving with your eyes closed and a broken brake, a recipe for disaster. These fluids, oil, coolant, brake fluid, power steering and windshield wiper fluid, are what keep your car running smoothly and safely. If any of them are low, problems begin. The engine can overheat, the brakes can lose power, or the steering wheel can become stiff. Oil is the most important because it lubricates every part inside the engine to prevent it from becoming scratched and destroyed. And without enough oil, the engine can literally burn out. Coolant prevents the engine from overheating and becoming damaged, while brake fluid is vital for safe braking. Furthermore, over time, these fluids can lose their properties and become contaminated, so it's not just their level that matters, but also their quality. Failure to check these details can be very costly and even dangerous on the road. Make checking your fluids a simple, quick and vital habit before starting your car, and you'll avoid unwanted scares and repairs. And so you don't end up wondering, why didn't I do this before? Keep reading, because what follows is pure gold for keeping your car bulletproof. Mistake 3. Ignoring corroded battery terminals. Corrosion on battery terminals may seem like a minor detail or something that only affects the aesthetics, but I assure you, it's a problem you can't ignore. That white or greenish coating you see on the terminals prevents electricity from flowing properly, which can cause your car to start slowly, have electrical faults, and, in the worst case, leave you stranded and unable to start the car. Furthermore, corrosion can continue to spread and damage the vehicle's electrical connections, putting important systems such as charging, sensors, and even the car's computer at risk. Cleaning these terminals is simple and inexpensive and can save you from a host of messy and costly problems. So don't be one of those who overlook this detail. Check your battery and keep it clean so your car always has the spark it needs. Mistake 2. Ignoring scheduled maintenance. Many people believe that car maintenance only involves changing the oil when it feels off or waiting for something to go wrong before taking it to the shop. But ignoring scheduled checkups is like playing Russian roulette with your vehicle. Regular maintenance is the key to preventing rapid engine wear, brake failure, or steering from becoming a headache. When you don't perform maintenance on time, parts wear out faster, filters become clogged, and oil loses its effectiveness, causing the engine to work harder and use more gas. This not only affects performance, but also puts your safety at risk and can result in costly repairs that could be avoided with a simple checkup. Following the manufacturer's recommendations and having your car serviced regularly is an investment in peace of mind, safety, and long-term savings. The saying, prevention is better than cure, applies perfectly here. So take the wheel responsibly and don't put it off. And now pay attention, because what follows isn't just any mistake. It's one that could leave you without a car and speechless. This is the little gem you've been waiting for. Mistake 1. Blindly trusting start-stop systems. Modern automatic engine start-stop systems are great for saving fuel and reducing emissions, but relying on them without understanding their limitations can be costly. These systems pause the engine when the car stops and restart it instantly when you hit the accelerator, which sounds like magic, but actually puts extra wear on the battery, starter motor, and other components. If proper maintenance is not performed, the battery can drain quickly, the starter motor can fail, and the sensors can become problematic. Furthermore, in extreme temperatures or heavy traffic, the system can malfunction or become disabled, leaving the driver with the surprise of the car not starting when expected. Therefore, it's important not to rely entirely on this system and continue to maintain good battery and engine condition, as well as pay attention to any warning lights or unusual behavior. Using this system wisely is key to avoiding unexpected visits to the shop. Well, there you have it, champion. All those common mistakes many people make when caring for their cars, which end up costing them time, money, and headaches. But now that you know these secrets and tips, you can avoid those pitfalls and keep your engine in top shape so that your trip is always safe and without unpleasant surprises. Remember that taking care of your engine isn't just about prolonging the life of your car, but also about ensuring you and your loved ones travel with peace of mind and confidence. Don't let small details become huge problems. Give your car the care it deserves, and you'll see how it thanks you with every mile. If you like these tips, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our life-saving tricks on the road. As they say, we're just getting started, my friend, because what's coming next is much tougher. See you in the next video. Don't miss it.